Chest up, shoulders back. Welcome to Revival Fitness, everybody. Your home for gains and brains. I'm sure you guys have seen by now, Joesthetics has died, age 30, only a few years older than me at this point. I'm going to provide my thoughts on this matter. You guys know here, I don't pander to either side. I'm going to give you what I deem a balanced and unbiased perspective, because every time a story like this happens, there are two sides of the coin, both of which I think are equally delusional, and I think they both have their own agendas ultimately, and nothing gets solved. There's always just this infighting, comment section, beef, and it just goes on until the next death happens, unfortunately. So the first side we're going to talk about here are the people saying that the PED use had nothing to do with it. I don't know how many guys I've watched, man, but just so many people saying like, oh, well, you know, he was a really health-minded guy. He took his health very seriously. He got blood work done. And it's like, man, I don't know what it is with some of you guys, but the inability for some people to even accept that the gear had some role in this. I'm not even saying it was the entire thing. That's going to go into the next point in a few minutes. But so many people, when these topics come up, man, they just turn this blind eye. And something I saw a lot in Joe's case was people said over and over he was only on TRT. I think he claimed he only took TRT for, I don't know how long it's been. I'm not totally in depth with all these details here, forgive me on that. But from what I gather, TRT is the consensus. Guys, if you think this guy was only taking TRT, I truly don't know what to tell you. And I have a video I put out a long time ago. I'm going to put it down in the pinned comment as reference, because I talked about this last year. The video's called Only TRT in quotation marks is the new fake natty. And that's exactly what it is, right? Because there's a lot of guys now, it's so patently obvious, like they can't even pretend to be natural based on their physiques. So now they say, well, oh, I just do a little TRT, bro. It's their way of basically saying, yes, I take stuff, but it's way less. You ever hear this before? Some guy will say, oh, I take stuff, but it's way less than everybody else. You ever notice how these guys are all taking way less than everybody else?
I mean, basic tests, D-ball, it's just basic stuff.
But he was an aesthetic guy, right? I see a lot of comparisons of him and Ziz, and they both died in Thailand, I think, ironically enough. Doing just TRT is not going to do that, guys. Again, you've been lied to so much on the internet for so long now. Guys actually think this is true. People comment all the time whenever some dude is just clearly juiced out of his mind. They're like, I think he's on a little TRT, bro. It's like, dude, he passed the point of TRT years ago, okay? Like, just the delusion in this space. I don't know if it's because it's a lot of younger dudes who just don't know better yet. I guess it's a mix of that and people trying to cover their own ass and everything. But you're never going to get full transparency on this topic, guys. I've said this over and over. The whole natural thing at this point is a complete joke. It deserves to be treated as such. All of the chest-thumping naturals, lifetime naturals in my bio, in my hashtags, I talk about it all the time. Everybody's lying, man. It is what it is. You're not going to get full transparency. And even the guys who admit to stuff, they're going to heavily downplay what they take. It's basically a mix of PEDs, other substances, and the general lifestyle. I think that's what really turns lethal in a lot of these cases. Because a lot of these old-time bodybuilders, they're not dropping this young. Arnold is still alive. Frank Zane is still alive. Franco Columbo died pretty recently, but these guys get into their older age. Lee Haney's still alive. Dorian Yates is doing okay, right? All these guys in the past, they weren't dropping at these young ages like a lot of these guys are now. I saw something where Joe said he drank 4 liters of coffee a day. That is probably not something you want to do if you're going to be working out intensely and taking PEDs. I mean, you're asking to have a rapid heart rate. You're probably going to increase your blood pressure with all of that. If I'm not mistaken too, Joe, sort of like Ziz, is kind of like a party guy, right? He would go to raves and he would go out and drink and all this other stuff. Again, I can't tell all the details here, but that's something else in the fitness lifestyle a lot of people don't realize, man. A lot of these dudes behind the scenes, right? What you see on Instagram is just them lifting and maybe they're posted up in their nice outfit or whatever. A lot of these guys do way more drugs than just the PEDs, guys. You got to think about it like this. People that do drugs, they tend not to have issues with other drugs, right? So it's not common to meet a guy who's like, yeah, man, I do blow, I take mushrooms, I smoke, I drink, but I would never touch anabolics. You ever notice how nobody does drugs, right? Everybody, I don't do that. I might drink a little bit or smoke a little bit if it's legal and medical, right? Nobody allegedly is taking any of these drugs. But you can look up articles on this and all this other stuff. These underground drug trades make billions upon billions of dollars every single year. International stuff, they're on boats, on trains, on cargo ships, they're getting transported over borders and stuff. They got the police dogs coming out for them, they find billions in cash, all this other stuff. But nobody does drugs. So I can't say exactly how much and to what extent this guy was like a partier. That said though, if he was in the party scene even quasi-regularly, man, if you're taking a good amount of anabolics and other party drugs, even if you're just drinking a lot, that is very tough on your body to recover from. Guys, if you think you're going to walk around at the body fat this guy walked around at, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a recent video or picture of him above 8 or 9% body fat. Nobody who stays shredded all the time really cares about their health. Maybe I'm the first one to tell you guys, but those are two things in opposition to each other. Very health-minded and always being shredded, those do not go together. Now, of course, you can mitigate risk as much as possible. Maybe that's what a lot of these guys mean when they say he was, like, healthy and health-minded. Even so, though, man, nobody walking around at 5, 6, 7% body fat all the time really cares about their health to the fullest extent. But that's really what bodybuilding and aesthetics culture is, and even powerlifting to an extent, albeit it's much less glamorous. It's people pushing things to the extreme, right? That's why a lot of these careers, they don't last very long, right? You sit back, enjoy the show, see who can get away with doing the most stuff and tolerate the most and push it as far as they can. It's a big circus, like a lot of other industries, right? It is what it is. The craziest people, the ones who take it to the extreme, they're going to get the notoriety. Now, I know there's also the point about, I can't say this on YouTube, how can I word this delicately? The hokey pokey. So when you combine all of those factors, there's a decent recipe, I guess, for something to go wrong, as unfortunate as it is. The other side are the guys, it's going to be the chest-thumping natties and the Puritans and all these dudes, the self-righteous crew, and they're going to say stuff like, see? They're going to puff their chest up, see? Steroids claim another. If he would have just never taken anything, he would be perfectly healthy and happy and but guys, we don't know that for sure. Now, like I just said, to try to paint the picture that PEDs had nothing to do with this, I think that's just pretty dumb. That said though, to pin this exclusively on the steroids is also dumb, right? A lot of guys, like I said at the beginning, they have this agenda where they just have to push whatever they believe. So anytime one of these deaths happen, they're going to say, you see it in the comments every single time, right? Stay natty, bros. Oh, don't touch the juice, right? All these guys pretend like they care so much about other people and all this other stuff, this act they put on. And like I mentioned earlier, there's plenty of bodybuilders, legendary bodybuilders, and other people who were using tons and tons of stuff. They were not dying this young. But the fact of the matter is, using high amounts of stuff in the fitness space is nothing new. It's been going on for a long, long time, numerous decades at this point. It was happening during Arnold's time, back in the 70s. But even so, when a topic as nuanced as this, with so many factors playing into it, the masses, of course, are going to blame the PEDs because that's just what they do. These people live to demonize PEDs, even though the people they watch and look up to, your favorite athletes, your favorite wink wink natural influencers, they also take PEDs, guys. You ever see a comment like this on some bodybuilder's page? It'll be like, yeah, well, you can look like that, but at least I'm gonna live past 40. And it's like, dude, as if most people that use PEDs don't live past 40. Again, you guys love to cherry pick these rare examples. Joe himself is a very rare example. You see what I mean? So, the biggest problem with these natty supremacist dudes, they're hypocritical in their own right. Because they'll say on one side of the equation, like, hey man, all these guys need to stop lying about being a fake natty, they need to come clean and admit their sins. You guys should see some of the comments I've gotten on my past videos about this, what some of these dudes say. One guy said that using PEDs was equivalent to a mortal sin. One guy compared a PED use to abusing your wife. I wish I was kidding. These guys are completely brainwashed with this stuff. But on one end, these guys are like, oh, well, you need to be honest and come clean and all this other stuff, you heathen. And then whenever guys do finally open up and talk about this stuff, the few that do, then what do these same guys say? Oh my, why are you talking about this? This is repulsive. There are children on this application. You should never talk about this. You're influencing and openly directing kids to use the stuff, right? So you can't win with these guys. The only solution in their eyes is for people not to use in general. They'll be like, oh, if you just never touch anything, this could all be solved. You don't live in the real world, man. People are going to use this stuff. They are using this stuff. They're using way more than they say. Once again, because you guys have just this moral, in your own head, you have this moral authority. You have a stranglehold on the masses because everybody automatically equates this stuff to cheating and being a bad person, all this other stuff. Even if these guys are competing in untested events where it's not even cheating. And once again, your favorite wink wink natural bodybuilder and powerlifter also takes PEDs. He just knows how to pass the drug test in time. And that's why this conversation is ultimately fruitless. It never goes anywhere. People are going to say, oh, well, PEDs, everybody that takes them is a terrible person, even though, you guys watch and learn from guys who use the stuff, then you pretend you're better than them. And given all the other aspects, too, with, like, brand deals and sponsorships, family and friends, I get it, dude. I get why people don't want to share this, right? I mean, everybody thinks you're a bad person initially, or most people do, as soon as they hear that. So I understand why you wouldn't be transparent about it. There's the legal aspect, too, in some places. It's a very muddy topic, guys. And it's never going to be fully transparent. It's never going to be nice. There's never going to be honesty. Even the people that are so-called honest are still hiding much of the truth when it comes to this. So it's sad that Joe is the latest example here. Rest in peace to him, and best wishes to his family. But all I'm asking for is some nuance to these conversations. Can we stop pretending like it's just this extreme on either side? Oh, the steroids had nothing to do with it. It was all the steroids. A lot of things go into this. Can you guys at least just have an honest, intellectual discussion about these things instead of always getting emotional and tribal? Can we ever do that? Ever?